So, what if the biggest threat to your success, to your stability, is actually your own mind? Today, we're diving into a really provocative argument that constant external control isn't just helpful, but that it's absolutely essential for our survival. And it all starts with this one central question from our source material. Can you really trust your own mind to do what's best for you? The argument we're about to unpack suggests that the answer is, well, probably not. And this quote, it really gets to the heart of the whole thing. The idea is that when we're left to our own devices, with no one to answer to, our minds just naturally drift towards chaos and self-sabotage. It's a pretty bold claim, right? So let's dig into how this argument is built. All right, here's our roadmap. First, we'll talk about something called the brain's tantrums. Then, we'll look at the role of control inside the family. After that, we'll zoom out to society's essential structures. Fourth, we've got a pretty powerful cautionary tale about independence. And finally, we'll pull it all together and see why this all leads to the idea that control is the very essence of being human. First up, this idea of brain tantrums. It's a pretty wild term, isn't it? This is what the source material calls the stuff that happens when our minds are just left completely unchecked. So let's be super clear about this definition. We're not talking about just a simple fit of anger. A brain tantrum here means the mind's default state. This mix of irrationality, arrogance, and self-destruction that, the argument goes, can only be contained by some kind of outside authority. So what does one of these tantrums actually look like? Well, according to the source, it's a whole spectrum of stuff. On a personal level, it could be arrogance, laziness, maybe even sabotaging your own career or finances. But on a larger societal level, this unchecked state is linked to chaos, violence, and even mental instability. Okay, so if the mind is naturally prone to these tantrums, what's our first line of defense against all that chaos? Well, the argument points directly to the family unit. And this isn't just about when you're a kid either. This framework sees family control as a lifelong necessity. Parents guide you in childhood. Then in adulthood, a partner is supposed to provide a crucial kind of balance. And even in old age, the argument is that your own children are meant to provide oversight, to keep you from falling for your mind's own tricks. Let's just pause on this one idea for a second because it's pretty specific. The source claims that a life partner's main job is to balance these internal energies, these masculine and feminine forces. And without that external check, the argument goes, a person seriously risks mental instability, maybe even insanity. It's for sure a unique take on the purpose of a relationship. All right, so we've covered the family. Now let's zoom out to the bigger picture, to society's essential structures. This is where the source makes the case for why we actually need things like bosses and governments. This table here really lays out the argument for the professional world. See, on one side, you have bosses who create order and discipline. But on the other, in a world where everyone's an entrepreneur, the source predicts total chaos, born from universal arrogance, a state where, and I'm quoting here, nobody listens to anybody. And to really hammer this point home, the material brings up this intense example from the TV show The 100. You've got this bunker scenario with limited food, and Octavia's absolute authority is presented as the only thing stopping everyone from turning on each other. The takeaway is that when survival is on the line, a clear hierarchy isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. So, what happens when someone just decides to reject all of these structures? Family, bosses, government, all of it? Well, that brings us to our fourth point, a powerful cautionary tale about the arrogance of so-called independence. For this story, we turn to the ancient Indian epic, the Ramayana, and a character named Ravan. He's held up as the ultimate example of what happens when you believe you're completely beyond anyone's control. And this quote right here? This basically sums up his entire problem, his fatal flaw. He had this absolute, unshakable belief in his own superiority, and he rejected any and all outside advice. This is presented as the biggest, most dangerous brain tantrum of all. So the path to his ruin is laid out as being really simple and direct. Step 1, he refused to listen to anyone. Step 2, boom. His arrogance led directly to his downfall, and he lost absolutely everything he had built. It's meant to be the ultimate warning against the illusion of total independence. So all of this, the brain tantrums, the family structures, the need for bosses, the story of Ravan, it all leads us to the final and most significant conclusion. The idea that control isn't some burden placed on humanity.
but that it's the very essence of it.
This table does a great job of pulling it all together. You can see the pattern, right? At every level, personal, professional, and societal, the problem is always identified as the uncontrolled mind. And the solution, every single time, is some form of external control, whether that's family, an employer, or the government. And this is really the mind-bending twist in the argument. From this perspective, control isn't about oppression at all. It's about protection from ourselves. It's the one thing that stops us from becoming puppets to our own worst impulses, to those brain tantrums we talked about. And so that leaves us with one last big question to think about. Based on everything we've just gone through, is being under someone's authority a cage that limits us, or is it the very thing that actually sets us free from our own destructive nature? It's a challenging thought to end on,